Hello, welcome to IBFU. I'm Coach, and I be fed up. I be fed up with swamp. And even more than being fed up with swamp, I be fed up with, Trump's not going to be able to really drain the swamp because it's too deeply rooted. It's too deep seated with all these creatures that have been there forever, and he's just never going to be able to root them all out. I believe that is not true. I believe he can drain the swamp in about 3 days. And I think it's very easy to drain the swamp. The very first thing Trump needs to do to drain the swamp is be sworn in. The instant he takes the oath of office, Christopher Wray is no longer the FBI director because he has resigned effective the end of Joe Biden's term. So, since he is no longer the FBI director, President Trump gets to nominate a new FBI director. But in the meantime, he can appoint a interim director. The interim director of the Secret Service we have now has been there for 6 or 8 months now. And nothing's happened with that position. So appoint an interim director. That needs to be somebody who is not part of Swamp and has not been for a very long time. My suggestion, Newt Gingrich. And as the interim FBI director, he only has one thing to do. He does nothing else but start investigations and seek indictments for every person in Washington, out of Washington, in the government, out of the government, it don't matter. Every person on either list, either Epstein list or the P. Diddy list. Open and seek indictments on everybody there. And when you seek the indictment, you are looking to indict them on every crime they have ever committed for their entire life. Now, some of them you're not going to be able to because statute of limitations has run out, but you need to open a wide open, in-depth investigation into every person on that list. And as soon as he starts, President Trump signs an executive order and releases both lists and make it very well known that every person on that list is going to be investigated and charged with every crime that we can find that they have ever committed. 2 days later, members of Washington, D.C. that are not part of the federal government, that are not part of the House of Representatives or the Senate, 90% of them will be out of the country. Probably somewhere in Africa with no extradition. House of Representatives, Senate, 75% of those will be gone. Out of the country. Probably Africa. Somewhere in Africa. About 95% of Hollywood will be out of the country. Again, probably somewhere in Africa. And when they leave, they're going to take all of their money that they got in the bank with them. Guess what? Africa doesn't need any aid from the United States government because they just got a huge influx of cash. Problem solved. We have no more swamp because they're all gone. They will self-drain the swamp. You just have to have a few people willing to do what's going to need to be done. You're going to have to secure them very well because anybody in charge of trying to do those investigations, there's several people, I don't know, maybe somebody with initials HC or BC or, they're going to insist that these people commit suicide mysteriously. But you tackle this, and 2 to 3 days, you have the problem. You have 99% of the problems in this country are solved because those people leave there are not coming back. When you release the list, you make it clear that they're going to be investigated. You make sure that they know that they're going to be indicted for everything you can find on them, and that there will be not one single plea deal made with any of them. Boom, they're gone. And people say, well, Coach, that's awful harsh. So these people have been stealing from us for years. These people have been trying to destroy our country for years. Our current sitting president, sitting or laying down president, has been trying for the last 4 years to destroy our country. And before that, when he was part of the administration with Obama, the two of them tried everything they could for 8 years to destroy this country. They're evil to the core, and they need to go. And you can get rid of all of them. And you can get rid of all of them really, really fast. Then you can do some of the things that we need to do, because the people that are left are people that are going to be true patriots that will take care of the country, which means they will fix our broken borders. They will fix our immigration system. They will fix our tax laws. They will fix our voting laws that are really broken. They will get us some constitutional amendments that will do term limits and a bunch of other things that we need. There are several amendments we need to the Constitution at this moment. We had 10 of them done. 1791, we had 10 amendments done all at the same time. They're called the Bill of Rights. For those of you who don't have a very good education and were not required to take physics and really don't understand how the government works, those Bill of Rights, and have never seen a constitution. Okay. The first 10 amendments were done all at the same time. They were ratified in 1791, and they're called the Bill of Rights. And you really need to read those. If you've never read the Constitution, it's a very interesting document. And if you pay real close attention, you'll find out about a lot of things that people talk about in the Constitution. They're not actually there. They just keep talking about them like they're there. They're not. You also get a lot of things, well, it doesn't mean this, it doesn't mean this, it doesn't mean this, it does mean that. Absolutely. Freedom of speech does absolutely mean you have freedom of speech. Now, the Supreme Court said you can't go into the theater and yell fire because it causes a panic and it causes people to get injured. So there are some minor little things like that. But you do have the right to say what's on your mind. You have the right to criticize the government. I mean, that's one of the things that sets us apart from the rest of the world. But we got to get back to our Constitution All these people talking about the Constitution, talking about Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade was never even an issue about abortion. It was about the right to privacy. Go look it up. It was about the right to privacy. If it was about abortion, the Supreme Court would have never heard it. It was sent. It was filed in the Supreme Court that her right to have an abortion was a violation of her right to privacy. Nowhere in the Constitution does it say you have the right to privacy. Now, it does say that you have the right to not be searched without probable cause. They can't just show up at your house and search your house because they don't, I saw you out there, and I don't like your beard and the way you comb your hair. And so you got to be an evil person. I know there's something wrong, so I'm going to search your house and find out anything I can find that you got going on illegal. They can't do that. Okay, they got to have a warrant. Okay, so, but as far as if I leave my house, everything I do is open. Okay, I mean, I don't have the right to have privacy. I walk down the street, somebody's taking a video of something, and I'm in the background. I don't have a right to go over there and tell them you can't have that because I don't want you here, so you can't have it. I don't have that right. I don't have right to privacy. I just have a right to not be invaded by the government or by anybody else. So I get the right to protect myself in my home and those things, but I do not actually have the right to privacy. So there's a lot of things that people talk about. We need to get back to the Constitution. And if you want to know what the founding fathers said about the Constitution, it's not hard to find. And when they say, well, they didn't really mean this, yes, they did. They meant every word exactly as it's stated in the Constitution. They did mean for you to have the right to say what you want to about your government. They did mean that you absolutely have the right to protect yourself and for you to have guns or knives or swords. It says arms. So, I mean, they really meant for you to be able to have a means to defend yourself. And when they were talking about defending yourself, they were not talking about defending yourself from a guy breaking into your house. They were talking about protecting yourself from the federal government. The government we have right now that's being tyrannical and is trying to take your rights away from you. The swamp and the swamp creatures, and the longer they're there, the more scales they grow. And there's not a member, and I'm going to say this, and people, well, so-and-so and so-and-so. I'm going to tell you right now, if they've been in Congress for more than 15 years, they are part of the swamp, and they are corrupt. Now, they may not be as corrupt as this guy over here, and they may not be as corrupt as that one over there. But if they've been in Congress more than 15 years, they are corrupt. Because a very wise man, even back before I was born, said, power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that is absolutely true. And the only way we're ever going to fix our government is to get rid of the swamp. And right now, we have a unique situation. We're draining the swamp's easy because we can make them drain it themselves. And if we do what I just suggested, release those two lists and open indictments on all of them, the swamp will drain itself. And they won't come back. I thank you for listening. I'm Coach, and I be fed up.